Welcome to this episode of SDI Encounters, a podcast from SDI, the home of spiritual companionship. I'm Matt Whitney. Thank you for listening. Learn more about our work and the work of spiritual companionship on our website, sdicompanions.org. What is spiritual direction and companionship really like? In these next 3 episodes, Christina Roberts and myself, Matt Whitney, offer each other 30 minutes of real-life spiritual direction, something like a fishbowl experience, so you can listen in on this process as it unfolds. The first episode will have me offering spiritual companionship to Christina. The second episode will have Christina offering spiritual companionship back to me. And in the third episode, we'll reflect together on what one might expect in entering a spiritual direction or companionship relationship or session, what we've learned in our years of doing this work, and what this practice makes possible. Whether you're curious about becoming a spiritual director, seeking one yourself, or simply drawn to deep listening and presence, we hope these episodes offer a rare and honest glimpse into the heart of spiritual companionship. All right, so this is a little postscript where Christina and I are just going to unpack a little bit about our intentions for this and kind of what we did and what we hope that you, the listener, get out of it. Yeah.
So I think one thing I appreciated about sharing this space today with you, Matt, was you bringing your whole self into this session and bringing a song, singing a song. You're a very artistic, creative person. And so I thought it was lovely to experience that together. And I think for those maybe thinking about spiritual guidance, sometimes there's a question for new people is a sort of like spiritual therapy or something like that. And I think our heart today is just to expand that it's actually just space where we can experience deep listening to ourselves and in the presence of another person and of divine love. And so sometimes that's walking in nature with another companion and together experiencing the outdoors. Sometimes it's somebody bringing a poetic thing or perhaps a picture or an image. I have someone that I meet with and he'll often bring like spreadsheets because that's how his brain works and he'll want to share something in that format. And for me, I just love the variety of offerings of people coming as they are and whatever's on their heart or mind to share to do that and to hold space. So that's one thing. And I think another thing too is I really appreciated you naming up front that sharing that silence in the beginning to help you to get to a space of trust feels really important and not to rush that. And of course, for the podcast, we, like we mentioned, truncated that, but as much space as one needs to feel that they can be in that space and that doesn't have to be rushed. So those are a couple things that came up for me. I don't know what came up for you.
Yeah, that's rad. I love the spreadsheet person. And that equally, you can be like, yeah, let's sit with these spreadsheets. Like this is a profound offering of divine love too. All of it, right? Yes, I'm very right-brained and the silence thing. So we often talk about silence as a contemplative space, but also, it's not for everybody. Some people are real uncomfortable with it. And our mutual friend and teacher, Lucy Abbott Tucker, named this well recently in her supervision series, like, don't just invite people into silence. Invite people, how would you like to begin is the line that she uses. Like, don't presume that people are into silence. That was really helpful for me to hear. I do like it for the sort of transition from, just the busyness that we all are part of into a more quiet listening space. But for people who ask for silence, I always say, like, take all the time you need. So sometimes people are like, I just need like 1 minute or 2 minutes, or I'll do like I did with you, which is just like, just share whenever you feel ready, right? And then that takes it off of me to sort of know how much time is needed. I also know people who are like, midway through a session, they'll be like, can we just sit here and be silent for like 5 minutes? And I feel like, yeah, let's go. And Oh,
Hmm.
people really know, like they feel the agency in that container, the hour. Not everybody does at first. And like you said, like the kind of purpose of this doing this is to kind of help people get a sense of what to expect. Yeah, what do you do? You know, if somebody's new to spiritual direction, companionship, and they don't quite know how to begin. How do you start to build that trust and safety and agency within that container that's like, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm really listening for what you want. And that I think that can be really intimidating for people at first.
Yeah, yeah. I appreciate you naming that because I do agree. I think some people do like the free form, and for other people, that's almost stressful. Am I doing it right? What should I be doing? And so I'll often offer some options. And, some people, they like to be outside. And so they prefer walking, and it makes them more comfortable to be side by side instead of sitting across somebody. And for others, that feels too distracting. Or even with silence, and I've offered this option, like, would you like me to set a minute or 2 minutes on my phone, and I have a little, Insight Timer has a bell and then a minute or 2 minutes and another bell. So they kind of know, like, because I think that can also feel stressful, like, how much is normal, or should I be sitting more in silence? And so, I think for some folks that I meet with, they've really appreciated. I know it's going to be 2 minutes, which feels like a stretch to me. I had one person that's like, can we do three? Because I feel like I need that. Somebody else needs one. And having that little bell really helped them to transition. And so I've had other people that are like, I just want to dive right in. I actually don't want to hold any of that space. I want to just dive right in. And maybe I live alone and I have a lot of quiet and I don't want that. So when I'm with you, I want to just start right away. And so I think, again, just letting that person to be able to have agency to name that. But I think sometimes having options can feel really helpful for folks.
Mhm. Yeah, that's good. It's just to have those options and let people kind of respond in kind, like, oh yeah, that sounds good. This is what I need. It's really interesting. You've probably seen this too. Like some people come to spiritual direction, companionship really prepared. You know, they've got notes and something they're reading, something they want to unpack.
Mhm.
And other people come in kind of blank slate or just harried, like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I want.
Yeah.
And sometimes people come into that hour just like, I don't even know why I'm here right
Hmm.
now.
Yep.
I don't know, I'm probably not even going to get anything out of this, right?
Hmm.
I don't know that a single person, I've never experienced somebody coming to me who has felt that way coming in, still feel that way after.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. I think, yes, oftentimes people do think that, but they don't want to cancel on you last minute, so they show up,
Yeah.
and then often they're surprised with like, "Wow, I had no idea that what was emerged today," or whatever it was. So yeah, I agree with you.
Because part of the magic of spiritual companionship is that
Yeah.
the soul is there and it's hungry to be seen and witnessed. And we forget. We just
Hmm.
forget. For whatever reasons, right? Just the busyness of our lives and et cetera. And if there's anything as part of this hour, this container, is that you're giving your soul some space and call it what you want, soul or psyche or your true self or whatever. Like, you're giving some space for that to breathe.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you do, like it will breathe.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and maybe I just want to make a comment too about emotions because I think often emotions can show up in a spiritual guidance session. And I think that's one of the beautiful pieces of that is that when maybe someone is moved to tears or even weeping or elated joy or whatever it is, really holding space and allowing that to breathe as well and not rushing through that. And I think sometimes we can feel embarrassed by emotion that arises, or if we're in, work situations or things where we want to button it up. And then we come to spiritual guidance. And because there's such a spaciousness and trust and divine love and presence there, often that emerges.
Yeah.
And so I know in my own life, that's been really helpful to have. I can cry as much as I want and be snotty nosed, and I'm not going to be rushed through that towards an answer.
Yeah.
But letting the emotion take the space that it needs has been really helpful.
I think of emotion as just another way of letting the soul psyche breathe,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and this could become a real rabbit hole here. I'm going to try to not do this, but I mean, just what is spiritual direction companionship and what is therapy? What is, all these other different sort of healing one-to-one modalities? And I want to hear maybe your brief take on this. My brief take is just like anything is welcome in this space. I'm not going to tell you, oh, your traumas aren't welcome here, or I'm not equipped to handle that. I will say I'm not a therapist. I'm not a trained psychologist. And so I'm not here to fix anything. I'm not here to diagnose for sure. Like that is not my job. Do not
Mhm.
ask me to do that, right? But what your whole self is spiritual, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it's all valid terrain to explore in this container. And I'm not here to fix anything, but I'm here to walk with you and see it.
Yeah, I think one of the things I appreciate is, like in Venn diagrams where you have maybe therapy and spiritual guidance and coaching and some of these different modalities that you're mentioning. I think when one is a seeker and is seeking connection to the divine, to self, to others, often there's overlap in that. And so I think it's really beautiful to witness as someone's coming to spiritual guidance and maybe there are some things coming up that again, to your point, I'm not a therapist, I don't diagnose, and that person recognizing there's something here to tend to with a professional that can really foster that. I think on the other end, sometimes as I'm meeting with folks, they're getting in touch with desire or passions that have maybe laid dormant. And so all of a sudden, it's like I'm wanting to reemerge in maybe a new vocation or career. And so they're going to pursue maybe some coaching where they can get in tune with that sort of thing. And so I love seeing how we can come alongside some of these other professions really towards a whole person. I think really simplistically, it's like for me, kind of spiritual guidance is, like you mentioned, tending to the soul and kind of being present. And this is very reductionary, where I think therapy tends to be a lot of our past and coaching tends to be a lot of forward future thinking and planning, where, in a very simplistic terms, I think being present to what is now in this container of the hour feels a little bit different and unique to me and something that we offer.
Yeah. No, that's a really clear way to think about it and to think about the differences between those. What also comes to me is not just, sort of coming alongside these other healing modalities, but that's, my friend Larry J. Morris III talks about this, like having a care team, like a support team that like we have a spiritual director, we have a therapist, we have a specialist for whatever, is arising for us physically, mentally, spiritually, a doctor, right? Like there's all these sort of people who make up our team of people who are supporting us in like growing into our most alive, most true self. And I think that's really important to name too.
Yeah, yeah. Which I think also speaks to seasons. Like sometimes you have someone that you're meeting with for companionship in a season, and then maybe they move on, and there's a non-attachment to. It's amazing when people come into our lives, and then maybe they may circle back in years later. I've had that happen where I haven't met with someone for a few years, and then they'll circle back and say, "Hey, I think I'd like to re-engage again." And it just kind of need to be, again, we use language of journey, right? And journeying sometimes there's some forks in the road that then kind of reemerge again in some really sweet ways.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, you're speaking my love language now and like journeys and walking and pilgrimage. Like, life is just like this long traveling journey, and spiritual companionship, if anything, is just like pulling off to the side and finding that
Mhm.
campfire, finding that oasis where someone's like, how was your day? What's going on in your journey right now? And you
Mhm.
pull up to the fire and you tell your story, and someone's going to be there to hear it. And then, you pack up and you hit the trail again and you keep going, right?
I love that. That's perfect. Great image. Well, this has been really fun, Matt. I'm
Oh
glad
my
we did
gosh.
this.
This is rich, super rich.
If you're enjoying this podcast and you want to help us share and spread the word about the life-giving practice of spiritual companionship, you can help us out by subscribing to this podcast on our website. You could give us a like or even write us a review. Thank you for listening. This is Matt Whitney with Spiritual Directors International. Thanks again for listening. Your time and your presence here are deeply appreciated. If you liked this show and would like us to continue making them, please do subscribe now while it's fresh on your mind. Also, we would love to hear from you, so please feel free to send in your comments and suggestions to the email address podcast@sdiworld.org.
SDI is the home of spiritual companionship. Learn more about us and our work on our website, sdicompanions.org.